How you guys doing today? Welcome to another round with myself, Jay, and my co-host, Sean.
What's going on, everybody?
Okay. So today, me and Shauna, we're going to be talking about safe spaces and, within relationships and everything. And we also have a guest with us tonight, our honorable and loving their coach, Kojo from Little Black
Yo,
Book
what's
91.
good, man?
How
What's
are
good? What's
you?
good? I'm alive, and I'm glad to have joined my two special agents on the force.
Your buddy locked and loaded and, giveaway
Chef
Jay.
J.
So, guys, I really wanted you to, especially to talk about it because coming from safe spaces for a female, generally we have those. And like our friends, our family, we have people that we know that we can go to and talk to at all times. But with guys, we've noticed, especially in the reality TV world lately, that you guys don't really have places that you can go and call them safe, so to speak, and just feel like totally yourself. So I wanted to talk on that a little bit today on how we can like build more ways of creating safe space for you guys, knowing when you guys are in safe space and feeling okay to be yourself. And of course, the ins and outs and do's and don'ts about using the informations that is shared in those spaces. So, whoever would like to speak first on your experiences of whatnot.
Locked and loaded. Is that you? Yeah, or is that me? Okay, I'll go first. I guess to talk about safe spaces. I think that word really came to me maybe only about 2 years ago, really, in terms of what actual the word safe space. I think my experience of safe spaces has been quite generally good, in terms if we're talking about partners, maybe not so much as parents, not necessarily in a bad way, but just maybe not as much as parents. But I think my most kind of powerful kind of experience of a safe space was when it didn't work. And I think that's when it really made me think, whoa, as men, we need really good safe spaces. And as you were saying, Chef J, as well, about watching reality TV, we often don't have those safe spaces. And they're actually a fair reflection of what we see in society. You guys joined us the other week when we were talking about a particular character on Married at First Sight and what he was going through. And I said, well, the way that certain ladies, not all, most ladies were pretty on point, but some ladies were not able to see that this was no longer a safe space for a man to be able to say, hey, actually, I'm feeling vulnerable at this moment. And when they did, what you saw was, man up, you're manipulating, this, that. So I think what we have in society, and again, I always say that when you deal with problems, you deal with the root. We do have trouble getting safe spaces for men, but actually, it's on men also to be able to start leading that conversation. So, for instance, we're a generation now. We've all been on Clubhouse before, right? When we're talking about safe spaces, men don't start those conversations. Women do. And then men come in and say, we need safe spaces. So actually what we need also in that respect is a balance. We need other men also to start leading that conversation like we're doing right now, as well. We've been on our channel as well, and we've spoken about this. It's creating that safe space for other men to come into. So my experience, last second I'll say this, my experience of it, the last time when I experienced a safe space, it went wrong. It almost killed me. I'm not gonna lie to you. I didn't realize how painful it was when someone doesn't know how to hold a safe space for you. So yes, men do need a safe space, and we got to start by having that conversation ourselves first.
Good deal. Good deal. I like that. I mean, I should have probably shut up in the beginning of this and not said anything so you guys could start it off. No, but I do want you guys to have a safe environment to express yourself. It is very important that, as men, that you guys can be able to talk to us women and feel confident in knowing that, we are going to have your back and not use it against you. So hopefully through this discussion, we'll be able to find some roots and causes and solve those problems and, fix the healing.
Yeah,
Sean.
I would agree, and I would say it starts. One of the things that, as even Kojo was talking, that kind of made me think, and I've been pondering this for like the last few days. It's the hearing versus listening, and I think in many instances, just because of the structure of society, the way men are viewed, it is almost viewed as, because of our strength, right? When we are vulnerable, we are able to be able to just sustain anything, right? So if I'm opening myself up to you, and I'm sharing something that is either hurting me or something that I have an issue with or that's problematic, because I am a man sharing that, it's just like a bias that's just unconscious that's in there, that you don't realize how difficult it is for me to get to the point to share the vulnerability. So it's almost like once it comes up, it's kind of minimized. It's not really, we don't get a chance to speak on that, and really just get a little bit of empathy. And I often have seen, and Kojo mentioned, when we're on panels or when we're talking about specific topics where a man is showing vulnerability, it's almost as if that vulnerability is immediately looked at through a lens of weakness. And I too am guilty of it. It's just kind of ingrained in there, and I think we just automatically say, "Oh, he's weak," or it's like if we listen, he's almost got to be the perfect victim. Like, so if a man is being abused in a particular way by a woman, it's almost like he has to be the saint in the scenario, whereas he can do no wrong. Right. And that's almost setting up a situation that it's just never going to happen, because no one in any situation is perfect. Nobody on this earth is perfect. And I think, but for the world and for many even women to conceive that a man is abused, it's like he's just got to be there and doing everything right the whole step of the way. And then people are able to say, oh, yeah, I guess I can see it. And again, just like Kojo, I don't want to say it's every woman, because it's not every woman out there, but it is, if we're talking generally, there is a large population that that runs with that sentiment. So that's what I think about when I think of that safe space. Are you listening to me? Are you really listening? Are you trying to connect with what I'm saying, connect empathy? And are you just removing the fact that, okay, I'm a man, but hearing me as a person and what I'm trying to express?
Definitely. The listening part is very key on both parties, like male or female. If you're not listening to not react, so to speak, or, just have a response, but you're actually listening to understand. Because, and I know you have your definition, and we'll go back and forth, Sean. I know we will, or with that, because I'll probably say it one way, you say a different way, but we're saying the same thing. Because I like to say we hear everything, but we listen to certain things. And so the thing is, we're not, sometimes females too, I know we like to say that the man is not listening to us, man not listening to us, he's not listening to us. But a lot of times we're not listening to the man either. We're hearing certain things that we want to hear and ignoring everything else he's actually saying. So that is a big problem that we do have, where we're not listening to each other to even start to create that safe space. To even say, okay, you know what? I am a place that you can come rest your head on, vent to, open up, be yourself, be vulnerable, and you can trust me not to come back in those heated moments and turn it against you or whatnot. And so that's the biggest thing that we're trying to create here, is places that, we are not using what is discussed. We have to have that confidential agreement without signing that paperwork. You know what I'm saying? Like, you can trust me as your partner, even if we fall out later on, even if we're not together later on. You could trust me with whatever you say to me today. Building a Bonnie and Clyde situation. Like, we go down together. But there should be some sacredhood in your relationship. It definitely should be that you can be able to say, hey, this is me. I'm
100%.
yeah, I'm being responsible enough and open enough to give you me, trusting you saying with me, and that should be an honor to somebody, honestly,
100.
that I trust you enough to be me with you, you know. And so I just want to get you guys opinions on, for you, what would a woman creating that safe space look like? Sean.
Sure.
Carl.
So I would say it starts like where what you just mentioned, right? So if I share with you something that is a vulnerability from my past, or something that is a pain point for me, that is held in a vault, right? Just like you were talking about, it's like a built-in NDA that we don't have to sign the paperwork for, but that's the trust. It's just in essence trust, right? So if I'm sharing it with you, it shouldn't be thrown back up in my face to later be used in a different way against me, right? It's not to say we can't ever talk about it, or you can't ask me anything down the line about it, but not to be used against me in a malicious way. So I think that is one of the biggest things that is important. And then to just, I'm a big confidence person and loyalty. So if I trust you to tell you information, don't take that said information and share it with anybody else. To me, that's like it. It's very, there's certain things, it's just, how I am, how I'm wired. It's very hard for me to recover from that. So if I find out that you went and told said friend, family member, somebody else what I confided in you, that you've lost my trust, and you are definitely no longer a safe space for me. So
Yeah, that makes me think
100.
of like the flockers, that circle of trust. And then you'll find
mhm,
yourself outside that circle every so often, real quick. Like,
yeah.
don't do that. Yeah, that's a big thing. Now, with that being said, though, is there like a key word or a key phrase that you may use to know that we're in this particular space with each other right now? Just because, we could be talking freely like we are now. And I can think that we're in a free space, even though it feels
hmm
safe. We're in a free space, and I say, okay, I go talk to such and such person, not knowing for you this was confidential.
hmm
Like, do you have like a something that you may say to that person before or after, so they know like this is strictly between us?
Yeah, I think it would be in the lead into it, right? So as I'm beginning to share, I might say, listen, what I'm about to tell you is something very close to me. It's really personal. It's something that I struggle with, or something that, I'm currently working through. So, if you hear that kind of language, or I might just say, hey, listen, just keep this right here between me and you. What I'm sharing right now is you and me, right? Um, something in those lines, to let you know that this is close to me, and not something I want to be consumed by everyone.
Got it, got it. How about you, Coach?
I like Sean. I don't think I have a specific word as to saying that I'm entering into the safe space, but I think this is where both parties really need to be able to be aware of. I guess the lead in to the conversation. If I say, look, if first of all, if I've taken a little bit of time to share something, probably means it's a tough conversation. Number two, if I've, like Sean said, look, there's something that's really important to me, and there's something I want to share with you. The fact that I've said something I want to share with you already should make it a safe space. In fact, you yourself should be a safe space consistently. All right, it should always be on. It should be on. There should be no off. There shouldn't be a moment where Sean will tell me something. I'm like, I'm gonna run off and tell someone else. Like, no. And there shouldn't be a moment that when you're sharing your story, I should have the ability to read the room and be okay. He's just shared something quite deep. That's not something I'm going to laugh at. That's not something I'm going to make fun of. I'm going to take what he said quite seriously. So I think you just got to read the room. I think you got to read the room, read the cues, and just listen out to the content of what the conversation is having. If I'm telling you I lost a fiver, I don't think that's anything to do with. I don't think it's a very deep story unless I've added some kind of context to it. You know what I mean? You can tell your friends I lost a fiver. It's not going to be a big deal. But if I start telling you, look, hey, look, there's some situations I'm having with my family. I wanted to kind of share it with you because it's been quite heavy on my heart. Bruh, why is that automatically not ringing alarm bells in your head that this is a safe space? Do you want me to say pineapples? There's no need. Like, you should know. You should know this is now a safe space. Like, It should be a safe space. But what you said was obviously, how does it look to me? A safe space essentially looks like no judgment. You know what I mean? It's a listening ear. And it's also a no interruption zone. Please, I'll just understand. When I say no interruption, doesn't mean you don't ask a question. What it means is you don't divert the conversation. And I don't know if it's a woman thing. I think this is anybody in general. If someone's sharing their heart to you, please don't go, and I've gone through the exact same thing. And do you know what? And do you know what? And you start going off. No, 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 no. Please, it's a safe space. So when the person starts talking about their feeling, yeses, nos, nodding your head, yeah, I hear you. Asking a question to follow on to let them keep on talking, fantastic. But anything where you're going to derail the conversation because you want to identify with that person, it sounds great to you in your head, but it actually isn't creating that safe space. So for me, safe spaces really are no judgment, no interruption. They never mock as well, And I watched a podcast the other day with Abba and Preached, and they were talking about vulnerability, and they said something which is really interesting. We men especially, we do not want to hear when I'm sharing my story, no, please don't do it's not cute in that moment. Please just hear me out, listen to what I'm saying without doing the in there. Do you know what I mean? It really is, safe space really is somebody who's just genuinely putting all their focus and attention onto you, listening, caring, having empathy for what you're going through, and being able to not have judgment as well, and not mocking you. So that's how I see a safe space in a sense.
Okay, ladies, I hope y'all listening. Okay. Don't do the ahs. I would also suggest don't be so immediate to comfort in that space. Just let him get it out, and let him take his time, because he might have to go through the tears. He might have to go through a little bit of rage or something and stuff. So don't be so coddling in those moments either. Like, just let him get him out to you. And as he's doing that, listen to the parts that are triggering words, that are points of his pain or whatnot. So you can note those things in your head that, let me not do those things. If I want this relationship to continue and be productive, I'm not going to do these particular things. I'm not going to say these particular words, and I'll just use me as an example. When I'm listening to a past story of a partner, I'm listening for what would set him off, so I can make sure I don't travel down those roads, especially purposely. I might accidentally do some things or whatnot. It's just human nature to make mistakes, real mistakes, but I don't want to purposely set this person off. So if we're going down that road, if he's telling me about past histories with ex-girlfriends and relationships and parenting issues and all these things, I don't want to be sitting here, well, that's why your girlfriend did this, and that's why your mama is like that. You don't want to do those things. You don't want to bring those things up, and then you don't want to repeat those events, because you're already seeing that how they turned out in the first place. So it makes no sense. If you want the relationship to work, it's no point of doing the same thing that caused a relationship to end. So, when you're actively listening, as in that safe zone, you're supposed to be listening to learn. And if you're not learning something out of it, you're wasting both of your time. You might be helping him get a little bit off his chest, but it's not doing nothing productive for the relationship. And so, I would suggest, ladies, if you're going to and men too, if you're going to actively listen, do it from a genuine place. Do it from a space that you're actually trying to learn your partner, so you can be in a coexisting habitat with them as far as the future, especially if this is somebody you want to marry, because you're going to go through changes and different things where situations are going to keep coming up, and you're going to have to recreate safe spaces over and over and over and over again. So, I know, Coach, we had spoke on your live before, and I had asked you the question about if a person's in the safe space and we have a conversation in that safe space, and later on we're in a heated debate, and they use what they share in the safe space and flip it back. Meaning, say my partner will say something like, I have trouble talking to you because I feel like this, like I feel insignificant in the moments or whatever and stuff. And so, like in the heat of the argument, is say, see, this is why I didn't want to tell you that, because you make me feel insignificant and things like that. I know you said on the live how to deal with the said person, but please reiterate here while we're in this space on how to deal with that.
Oh man, Chile. It's a good question because obviously, I mean, someone obviously. I mean, first of all, guys, things in a safe space need to be staying in a safe space. Okay, all right. It's almost like things that happen in Vegas stays in Vegas. Okay, like, that's the kind of principle. But when it does happen, I mean, it can happen, right? This is. It can happen because people are emotional. First of all, I want to give that grace. It does happen in relationships, even in healthy relationships. Sometimes people forget, they slip up, and maybe they're seeing a similar behavior kind of come up again, and it's like, see, that's why I told you this. Da, 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 da. It's like they want to try and prove this point. My first and foremost point is, guys, look, you're not trying to fight to win. If you try to fight to win, then by all means you'll win, but you'll lose a relationship, or you'll lose something from the relationship. The whole point of these when we have arguments is that we are at that point in time, we feel like we're not being heard, we're not being listened to, right? But if you try to formulate an argument to win, I can guarantee you're going to lose in the long term. So the first and foremost thing is get a hold of your emotions. All right, because the emotions is what leads you down a path to make you say something rash in that moment. Right? When we are in relationships, emotions are good, but you got to learn how to be sober. So the conversation's getting heated, things are flying left and right. Everyone's getting a bit touchy with what they're saying, blah blah blah. But you've got to find, and I think also as well, you got to be very careful as well that you don't end up becoming that vindictive partner. And that goes for both parties. The person who told the person about it, be careful you don't become vindictive by saying, see, that's why I don't want to tell you about whatever. And the other person who's listening to, you don't become vindictive by saying, see, when you told me about that thing, see, that's what I'm talking about. Now you're doing the exact same thing so both parties can be really aware not to become vindictive in trying to instigate revenge, or try to come hard at the person during these kind of moments of tension. So my first and foremost thoughts to anybody in these situations is, first of all, get sober. Get sober, because if you act in your emotions, I can guarantee you it won't end well. You're going to say something and a bit more than you really needed to say, right? And then you're having to later on go, wow, I probably shouldn't have said that. But now it's said, it can't be taken back. So get sober first and foremost. Number two, as I said previously, what happens in the safe space stays in the safe space. Please don't bring up the safe space, bring up stuff from the safe space into the open if we are in an argument. There are instances where we do bring up safe space conversations. For instance, if we are having a back and forth and then we calm it down and we say, and I ask a question, is this what you meant by when you said in a safe space that potentially sometimes my behavior looks like this? Or I can say to you, listen, hey, do you know what? This now we're much cooler. Do you know what? What I was trying to say is, like, when we had that argument, it's like that. That's what I was trying to explain to you. This is what it is. In that instance, it's a bit different to you in the heat of a battle saying, this is why I said da 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 da. Because then now we're doing this kind of blame game. And in the heat of the moment, nobody listens properly, right? You're too hot for that. So if you've cooled it down and you have now chilled to a cool level, and we're able to talk on a level head, then we can bring stuff that may have spoken about in the safe space, say, hey, is this what you meant? Is this what I was trying to say to you? Blah, blah, blah. Because then people have cooled down and they can receive the information as well. And then I think most importantly, I think also as well, this is... It's tough. These conversations are tough because I think there's nuances to everything. So I think my final point on this, when we're talking about safe space and talking about people bringing up stuff in the heat of the battle and stuff, is, and I said this to women and I said this to men as well. When we're getting heated, I always say this to women first and then I'll address the men. you don't want to be, and this is that just please don't stand up. The arguments when they stand up really get heated really, really quickly. And I'm not talking about physical. I'm talking about the fact that when you stand up, is all the energy seems to really double, right? But if you calm it down and you sit the person down, get the person to sit down, chill, listen, let's talk, try and talk this out, right? You'll find out that you actually have a more amicable conversation. Man, them, when the thing gets heated, yeah, step into her face. It's probably not the best thing. Tell her to shut up. It's not the best way to go about it. You know what I'm saying? Just walking off without communicating, probably not the best way to go about it. You know what I'm saying? But if us as men have the opportunity, and I'll say this for us as men specifically, I believe men have the temperature control to a relationship. And even when we're having arguments, I think we have the ability to control where the argument goes. So sometimes that may need you to withdraw and be like, hey, look, you know what? The conversation's getting a bit, we need to chill it down, right? We need to chill it down. And I think we need to revisit this maybe back in half an hour's time, or an hour's time, or maybe revisit tomorrow when we're all a bit cooler. Now, if she goes off on one, leave her to it, bro, and you go your way. Because you've communicated, you've told her, and you said, listen, we'll revisit this at another time, and you've given a specific date and time. There is no argument after that. Even if she wants to argue again, you say, I'm sorry, but this is probably not the right time to do it because we're heated and nothing's going to be accomplished. And that means that the next time when you come back in, you regulate again, say, hey, look, we're ready to have this conversation. Let's go again. Do you know what I'm saying? So I think both parties have their role to play. But when we're dealing with things that happen in a safe space, please do not bring that up in the heat of a battle. That is not, that honestly, that is the bomb that really breaks people's heart. I'm sure Sean can talk about this. Bro, when you've shared something vulnerable as a man, especially, right, to a woman that you care about and you love, and then you hear it in the heat of a battle. For instance, let's say you cried, and then she brings up and hear about that's why you cry, because you're a little beat, bro. Yo, you're finished. You're finished. You know what I mean? Like you are finished after that. So we got to learn how to just watch our tongues and be sober in those moments. I know I'm sure Sean can add some more spice to that conversation as well.
Yeah, I mean, you said, so many gems there as you were just sharing different ways to avoid things getting more heated. And I think, and Jay, you have something that you say it's not an argument, it's a debate, which I think is cool because I love, oh man, sometimes this gets me in trouble because I love to debate, and I don't have, and I really can go rounds of back and forth. And anybody who's seen me on Little Black Books platform, I got the endurance. I will go back and forth, and if I feel very strongly about it, it's gonna take a lot to sway me. I'll listen. I'll definitely listen to you, but if I'm firm on my points, I am very, very adept at debating, and it's something in my relationships that I've learned. And still are learning that it doesn't always serve a good purpose, right? Because you don't want to always be debating in a relationship. That can become exhausting. It can always be a thing. So definitely through the years, it's something I've tempered down. But I can definitely debate in my free time. and you will probably most often find me doing that. But just back into the safe space part of it, it's I think too, and I want to just highlight this because this is something that's been on my heart a lot, and I feel like it just comes out, right? And it's a little bit about what you said, Kojo, and about, it's both men and women. I just feel like, and could be my unpopular opinion. Men, we don't get the license. We don't get the compassion. We don't automatically get the empathy. I'm not saying I don't understand why there's been an importance and an emphasis on women having a voice, on women having outlets and channels of support through multiple streams of media. Right? I get that. I understand that for years and centuries, women were not in an equal footing with men. So I understand that. And I understand there's still inequalities between men and women today. So I'm not discounting that. But what I am saying is that there has been a correction that has taken place in various stages and moments over time, where women's voices have really been uplifted. And part of that, unfortunately, one of the, I don't know if it's a side effect or a symptom, but it's been a man's voice has been pressed down. And I just don't feel like we have to press down men to uplift women. But I feel like that, excuse me, has started to happen. And when it happens in spaces where I'm sharing an opinion, that is my opinion. And the minute I share it and it may trigger a woman, it is immediately looked to let me squash that down. Let me look for a way to devalue his opinion. Let me ask what, if I'm talking about a scenario where I'm taking issue with a woman and her actions that she's done. It's, well, what did the man do to cause her? Like, there's a cause and effect, and we're very comfortable doing it. And it's almost like a baked in thing. And I alluded to it earlier in that unconscious bias piece. And I don't think women realize it. And again, it's not to say that I do not empathize and understand the importance of women feeling safe, the importance of women feeling like their voices are being heard. I'm 100%, in support of that, and have no issue. I do feel that there is a thing out there where it's like you can't call women out. It's very difficult for a man specifically to call out a woman's behavior. It's almost like, why would you want to do that? We have to protect women. And I'm like, yeah, protecting her doesn't mean co-signing on wrong actions. And sometimes it almost feels that way, that we have to do that. And we're always doing this dance. And in times when I've been on panels and I'm talking from a male's perspective, it's almost like I have to justify why I'm speaking for a man, because I am a man and that's my experience. And just as you, when you're speaking for a woman, you're going to speak, Jay, from that experience, and that's fine. And I just feel like it's a difficult dance sometimes we navigate when we have to have these conversations. And sometimes it gets frustrating because it's like you got to weed through all of this stuff. You have to obviously take a back seat, try not to take it personally, but people will personally attack you. They're very comfortable personally attacking a man for a myriad of reasons if they disagree with him. And if the same is done to a woman, it's like you've got a cancel campaign coming your way. So I think, like, I just want us to be conscious of that, be open to that. And that's part of that listening, just kind of take a seat sometimes and hear what's being said. Now, if somebody's coming reckless at you or talking, in an insulting way or condescending, I get that. That's going to trigger anybody. But if someone's just sharing their opinion and telling you how they feel and you don't necessarily agree with it, hear the person out. Ask questions. And I don't think that often happens. And I'll end with an example. And this one has just sat with me for about weeks. There was a panel that Kojo had done with Marriage UK and another gentleman. And they were talking about men and vulnerability. And there was somebody in the comments, and I will never forget this comment. The person shared something that happened with his wife and her being pregnant and her walking out on him. And in that space, within a matter of 30 seconds, there was a woman in the comments, and she immediately asked him, "What did you do wrong?" That, for me, anti-safe space. It's anti-safe space. And that's that unconscious bias that's built in, because why would you assume that? Why assume that? So that's kind of, that was where all of what I was sharing led up to. There's just there's a comfortable place that we are with, listen, if a man if there's an issue, a man is sharing it, he must have played some level or role in his own demise or his own upset or hurt.
Yeah, and I know me and you went toe to toe for a while on basically having the same opinion, but it was more so of the timing of asking that question because you know me, I'm equal opportunity with that question, male or female. It is what did you do? But it's a point and a time for that question. You can't just sit here immediately, like you said, 30 seconds later after a person shares such a deep thing and say, well, what did you do? Well, let's get the story first. And then maybe in the story, you might find out what he did. It doesn't mean that he automatically did something just because she left at that point. She might be crazy or something. You know, we don't know what the details is. So at least ask, you know, how did it get to that point? There's other questions you can ask, you know, to even get the same answer that you're trying to look for if he had something to do with it. Don't just highlight it to you, a man, you must have did something wrong. You're at fault or whatnot, and say, and that's where I start to see the problem in culture with even when a man is being physically abused, he can't call the cops because the first thing the cops want to do is arrest him. He can have the bruises and scars and marks all over him, but he's going to be in handcuffs first. And when you have that account with Shay Moss, and I can't remember the girl's name that he was dating at the time when they got into the scuffle on the elevator and stuff, and she and it led to their apartment, and he literally had bite marks on him, and she didn't have any marks. Now, granted, they both took them both down to jail, but I'm pretty sure he was in handcuffs first. They were checking him first and making sure she's okay. And it's not fair because there are some women that are physically more dominant in areas than men are, and they will use that on a man. And as soon as the cops get called, the cops are looking at the man like, well, what did you do? And more likely, this is other men telling this man, you must have done something for her to lash out at you. And it's like, no, sometimes I just walked into the house a little bit later than she wanted me to, and she went off. It could be that simple. In case in point with Michaela and Zach. You know, I'm gone. I communicate that I was gone in the time frame that she wanted it, and now there's a whole blow up. And like you say, we do see those comments a lot coming, especially from women. Well, he must have did something, or what did he do to get there and stuff. And it's just like, that's not fair, because if it was a woman saying this man has done all these things, we don't question, well, what did she do until later on, until she's healed, and we want to know, well, what did you learn from this situation? We don't go right away, well, sweetheart, what did he do to hit you? What did you do to hit you? Like, you know, like why are you in this position? Like, if she gets the R word, we don't sit there and say, well, what were you, you know, unless we're trying to justify that man, because we have some people that are on the red pill justifying men like that. But we don't automatically say, well, what were you wearing? And why were you walking down this alley? And why were you doing this? Like, we're coddling her. We're saying, you know, you didn't deserve that. That's not right. He's wrong. This. So sometimes we have to give men the same grace, because men do go through these particular things. There are women out there abusing men mentally, physically, spiritually, like different ways, in a relationship, out of relationship, marriage. They go through it, and they don't be able to talk. They can't talk to it. They can't call for help. They can't even go to their boys sometimes without their boys making fun of them. Like, come on, get your girl in check, bro. Like, and like you say, Sean, we as women have all of these safe spaces. We have hotlines, we have girlfriends, we got our parents, we got family members, we got strangers. We can go run to a stranger house right now and say, hey, he's did X, Y, Z, and none of it occurred, but they're going to go try to investigate what he did first. And it creates a very toxic environment all around, especially for relationships. And you know, it's just trying to figure out how to solve this problem, and, you know, changing our mentality overall to stop doing that. To be just like totally honest, when you know, stop playing wolf. Like, if you're really in a space where you're really being abused, those people that really need help can't get the help they need because people playing games like this. People calling wolf all the time on somebody else just so they can have the empathy party, the pity parties, have everybody on their side, um, the teams, so to speak, or whatnot. So we have to do better as a whole, especially as women. Though we have to do better and create an environment for men to say, "Hey, these things are happening to me." And I want to share it. I want to be able to talk about it. That's why we do have those issues where a lot of men have been um, either I hate to say the word, but like molested at young ages and don't know how to process it properly. Because I've talked to plenty of men that have been improperly touched or things by their babysitter or whatnot. And to them, it's like, oh, well, I got it at an early age. Yeah, and that's not good. That's not right. You got it before you were supposed to even get it. You didn't mature to even understand what was happening to you. So you shouldn't be like happy about it. You have these women that is preying on young men like this. And these men don't have the spaces to talk about it, to say, hey, this is what I'm going through. This is, I've been through this. And, I'm trying to figure out like what else would they have to say, but like we end up having cycles because of that. I've been touched at this age, so now I'm touching other people and just going down the line or whatnot, because these men didn't have the space to say, this is what happened to me. And be comfortable enough to say, this is what happened to me. We see this with certain religious, groups where they've had these little boys that's been molested for all these years. And it takes them to be in a whole group just to say, hey, these things were happening. And that's very hurtful to hear that, like people have to live with this inside of them. They can't go to nobody, especially you guys and stuff. So, I don't know. I know I'm kind of like harping on and I'm trying to wrap it up or whatnot, but it is like hard for me to even hear, because I generally create myself to be a safe space for people. I have like this nature where people feel comfortable enough to tell me things or whatnot and know that I'm not going to go and say, well, blah, 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 told me this, and this is what happened, and this is why he act like this. It's like, no, you come to me, you tell me, if you want to continue to tell me, I will be here to help you work it out. I'm that type of friend. I will help you work it out, whatever I can help you understand about yourself. If we can't get the understanding, we go to other people to get the understanding if you're comfortable. I generally don't like to talk about people's issues unless they talk about it first. So that's one thing about talking outside the safe space. Like if that person starts to talk about it outside the safe space, that's fine. Let them talk about their thing outside the safe space. Even still, you shouldn't, just because they did, you technically still shouldn't go and say anything to anybody else afterward just because they did it, and then try to say, well, you said it, so I can say it. Like, no, that's their business. Now, if you go to them and say, hey, I got this friend over here, they do coaching, they are therapists, do you mind if I tell them what's going on? And they give you the okay, then okay. But outside of that, yeah, I try to avoid sharing the details of other people's things or whatnot. I'll share my details, but I try to keep you guys as a safe space. But yeah, Sean, you have anything else you want to add to it?
Yeah, I think like it just starts with mutual understanding, respect. I think the other part of it is like we got the golden rule, which is treat people how you want to be treated. I'm a fan of the platinum rule. Treat me how I want to be treated, right? And as we're getting to know each other, especially you want to have a safe space. Treat me how I want to be treated, and I think what happens, and I'll I know we've been doing a lot of deep diving into married at first sight, right? And we're starting to see, like, for those that watch the season, we're starting to see some of the couples be in an impasse. But there's one particular couple where it just really doesn't seem like there's an attraction from the man to the woman that he has been matched with. And I think we just it's like, oh, she's pretty, oh, this is that, this, all the ladies is like, oh, Brett's beautiful, she's beautiful, I love this, I love that about her. But he just isn't, it just doesn't. Now, he's open to maybe it developing down the line, but at this point he's just, it's not working for him, or he's not seeing it, right? And I think, like, we're just quick to do that. Whereas on the other hand, if it's a man, women are like, oh, he's dusty, he's broke, whatever his physical attributes are. Oh, he's balding, his hair, please, like, we're very quick to call out a man's personal attributes. But on the other, when the shoe falls on the other foot, I don't think women are that open to hearing what a man wants. So I just think we need to be open to hear what each other wants. And sometimes that means each other, and sometimes it means not each other. And neither party should feel guilty for their preference, right? Attraction is a thing, and either we are or we aren't. But I think, like, you just see that, and it's almost like this push for him to just, the world is like, oh, why can't you just, no, he's not. And it's not like he should, I'm looking for anybody to shame, a woman, or make her feel bad for any particular attribute. But if the person's not into them, it should be okay. We shouldn't have to force fit that. And we get really comfortable telling a man what he should think, what he should do, how he should feel. That doesn't make sense to me. These are things that I hear. Why are you acting like that? You're toxic. Then we start throwing out all these buzzwords, toxic masculinity. And it's like, no, I'm just expressing myself, and if you want to recreate a man, you might be barking up the wrong tree. You know what I mean? Because we're going to be who we are, as long as we're respectful and treating you as such, and allowing for dialogue. Then don't try to change me to be some version of me that you want me to be. I'm who I am, right? The same way women are very comfortable saying, I want to be independent. I want to have my freedom of thought and mind. I want to be able to move how I want to move. As a man, I do too. I do too. So give me that same respect, and don't try to make me you. Men are men and women are women. But there are some overlapping similarities. There's a wide range of what masculinity shows up in as a man, and the same for femininity in a woman. But let me be me. And I think I don't want my mind changed. I'm willing to talk, and let's talk through an issue if we have that, yes. But if I'm saying, like, this is what I want, this is what I need, this is what's important to me, those things, don't try to change that to make me fit what's comfortable for you. Because the same way you don't want to be oppressed and compressed in that way, where I'm telling you to fit into my mold of what I think is good or ideal in a relationship, I don't want the same thing done to me. So let's just be cautious of that when we are in relationships with each other, or even when we're in communication with each other. That is a form of safe space. It's allowing me to be me, allowing me to have my own opinion. And if it does not agree with yours, dig in, ask me questions, but don't shame me or try to make me your version of what you think I should be.
Coach, any other thoughts?
I think would say spaces, want to. I think I really 100% back what Sean's saying about allowing us to have a space for our voice, and I just want women to just be able to discern the difference between Kevin Samuel and someone else who voices their opinion. Like, just because we voice an opinion does not make us Kevin Samuels automatically because we disagree with what certain women say. And I think that's what I'm starting to kind of see sometimes. Like, we even had it in a chat the other day. So as soon as you say something that's different to what women say, it's like, you're Kevin Samuels. It's like, whoa, whoa, whoa. Darling, we're not Kevin Samuels, okay? I hear you. Kevin Samuels for me doesn't work for me. But I'm just saying, like, not everyone who says something contrary to what women think is Kevin Samuels. You know what I mean? Like, let's not make every opinion that is opposite to a woman's opinion Kevin Samuels, because what it does, it just chips away at the integrity of the comment made. Now it means now everything that a man says that's contrary to what you think or feel becomes antagonistic, and it's like that's not how it should be read. Um, that's not how it should be taken. Rather, we should see it as, maybe another, seen as a different perspective, because we see things completely differently. And this is what I'm saying about the whole win versus lose battle. As Sean has, we've spoken quite eloquently. If you guys have seen me on the channel, there's been times where we had a conversation. I think we had a conversation like a few months back, earlier in the year, when we were talking about attraction, and I was talking about how men see things versus how women see things, and women were getting on to me saying how men see things is wrong. I said, what? How can you say what we see things is wrong? Like, darling, how you see men, it's not how men see women. Like, why does that have to be wrong? And then you realize some people just want to win rather than actually trying to understand. Like, I'm never going to question why a woman thinks the way she does. Like, if you think that's how attraction works for you, then it works that way for you, ladies. You've told me how that women see things. I'm going to accept it. But I think sometimes what can happen is that we become overcorrecting of certain things and go a little bit overboard when men are talking, and then it censors us. And then you actually lose a really good conversation and a really good perspective and balance. Like, even our conversation we had the other week on the panel, some people were even like, it's getting a bit hard. It wasn't getting techie. We were just giving. And again, it's another thing as well. People need to learn how to be okay with dialogues that don't agree and line up. No one's fighting. The women were given great points. We didn't agree. We were given great points. They didn't agree. And it's fine. Nobody told anyone to shut up or go away. It was just a normal conversation. So please, if you're hearing those kind of conversations where there's disagreements, it doesn't mean we're trying to kill each other. It just means we see things differently. And that's okay. Listen, try to discern, take what you can from each thing and learn from it and grow. So for me, safe spaces are all about, like I said, making sure you listen, making sure that you pay attention, and like I said, making sure the focus and the spotlight is not coming onto you but onto them, because they're now sharing how they feel. And final note will be, I know many people don't like Delilah in the Bible because they think she set man up, and she did set man up, but the one thing she did brilliantly is she created a safe space. Somehow, some way, she got that brother to admit his secrets. Okay, now it wasn't very safe when she went and told the secrets, but she managed to get that guy to tell his secrets. That means she must have done something to him, which is she created an environment where metaphorically, physically, literally, he could rest his head on her knee and feel comfortable enough to tell Delilah the secrets. That is the safe space secret. Having the ability to make someone feel so comfortable, they're willing to rest their head on your knee and leave themselves vulnerable to attack. Because that's literally what you're doing in a safe space. I'm opening myself up to you in such a way that you could kill me right now, but you shouldn't do that because you love me and I love you and I care for you, friend or romantic partner. It shouldn't be that when you hold a part of me and my heart, that you're not squeezing and crushing, but rather you're holding it delicately and saying, I'm going to take care of this and make sure that I'm hearing what you're saying.
Thank you. I like that, especially for the fact that you touched on that other group of men over there that like to, and I was going to say this, they created that safe space because we women haven't given them the proper safe space that they needed. So they created their own. But the beautiful thing about when you create a proper safe space for a man, like Sean said, he's going to debate, but within his debating, he's listening. He's still open. And so when you give a man a proper space to be himself and say his opinion, he's going to still listen to you. He's still going to be open to you. And so when you don't do that, you have that other group of men who are just, my word is law and this is it, or whatnot. Don't think every man is that. Just like every woman is not all loving and stuff. Some women are abusive. We have to be open to the fact that we are all human. We all have flaws. Some of our flaws are extremely toxic, male or female or whatnot. And yes, they need to be called out. So when we call them out, don't sit there and say somebody is wrong because they're calling out an action that is wrong. That doesn't make them wrong. And it doesn't mean that because that person is doing this wrong action, that the other person that caused the action or supposedly caused the action had to do something naturally or have to be wrong with them. Some people are just wrong to start. And that starts the snowball of how everybody is now looking for, well, what did they do? No, let's stop starting in the middle of situations and start at the beginning, and we'll fix the root of the problem. So to wrap it all up, ladies and men, we want to be listening to learn. We want to stay open, as Sean says. We want to also, listen for those key words and those key phrases, that knowing that we are in a safe space, that we're talking from a safe place. We want to be women. We want to be Delilah as far as creating the safe space, but we don't want to be her at the end of it. We want to keep holding on to that safe space. And you'll find out, especially when you start to build relationships with men on a platonic level, and those do exist, that you can just have conversations with men and they feel comfortable enough to talk to you and share their relationships and get good advice from you. And we start building better relationships just even on a friendship level. You don't have to be romantic with everybody to have these safe spaces. Sometimes they start as a friendship. And that's another thing too, just remembering, even if you're in a relationship, this is my friend. It's supposed to be my friend. So if you're with a person that's supposed to be your friend first, and you guys happen to be lovers in the end, that's wonderful. But always come back before you start to, like Coach says, start to villainize that person or try to put blame on them and stuff and use what they say against them. Remember, that's your friend. You wouldn't want to hurt your friend. So, in the end, we'll just wrap it up here. I appreciate you, brothers, for sharing your thoughts and opinions. We want to start this off as having more of these dialogues, these topics being discussed. And of course, this is always a safe space to talk about it. Everybody out there, we're going to wrap it up. Like you guys like, share, subscribe to the channel, plus follow both of these brothers' channels. I'll let them go ahead and broadcast their informations as well. Either one.
All right. So Sean Davis 120 on IG. And my channel that will be launching soon is Sean Unfiltered. So, but glad to be here with you, Jay. It was definitely a safe space. So, appreciate that, and for you making room for the conversation, which is so important.
This is your platform too, brother. So I got to make you feel safe on here as well, before we start fighting.
Do not put on my track shoes in a second.
No, man. I appreciate this, Chef Jay and Sean, for bringing me on here as well, man. It's good to have a conversation about safe spaces, especially for us men. I think we need more of these kind of conversations as well. But yeah, guys, you can follow me, Little Black Book 91, Insta and YouTube. You can follow me on TikTok. I think TikTok's Black Muscle, but anyway. Follow me on all platforms, guys. Yeah.
Yeah. And, again, thank you guys for joining me and Sean on another round. This has been a blessing. I hope you guys do return, like, share, subscribe as again. And the Instagram page will be up soon. So, of course, you'll be able to follow us on Instagram. Another round with Jay and Sean. So, peace.